Hello and welcome to this episode of Unleash Your Inner Athlete with me, Julia Pizzi-Kamey. Now, it's that time of year when everyone is thinking about their health and fitness and maybe starting on that journey. And are you one of those people who are wanting to start that journey, but the gym isn't really the right place for you, but you want to make sure you get the guidance, the support, and reach those goals that you desire. Perhaps you're someone who is a member of a gym, but you're not really utilizing it to the best of your ability. And, training from home would be fantastic because it would save you time and money. But you're a bit concerned that you're not going to get the gains that you would hopefully get from a gym setting and the intensity of workout and the variety of exercise that obviously a gym setting offers. Or perhaps you're someone who travels a lot and you don't have access to the fitness facilities that you like, but you want to stay on top of your health and fitness. That's important to you. It's something you value. Well, today is the perfect podcast episode for you because with me today, I am joined by a former print company owner with a lifelong martial artist who discovered the game-changing power of resistance band training when his joint issues sidelined his practice. Now, an online personal trainer, group fitness coach, workplace wellness specialist, and is transforming the lives of busy professionals everywhere. He's delivering high-impact, time-saving exercises which provide strength, flexibility, and energy no matter how hectic your routine is. So get ready to be inspired by his mission to make exercise accessible, effective, and sustainable with no gym required. Welcome the unstoppable Dave Hurley. Hello, Dave. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me here, Julia. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm really honoured by that introduction you gave me. I'm not sure if it was deserved.
Well, you are fantastic at what you do. You have a huge following and you're having a very successful business. And I know later on in the show, you're going to be giving people lots of tips and advice on how to get started, because this is a new way of looking at resistance band training, because very often you see it, people using them for rehab, but you've really redefined how you can actually get benefits and exercise and get really fit by using such a simple tool. But before we get into that, how did this all begin for you? I mean, what was life like for you? Give us a brief history of Dave Hurley. What was the journey like to coming up to when you discovered resistance band training?
Sure, I'll do my best. So we'll have to go back quite a bit of time in history, all the way back to 1994. So I started my own business in 1994. So that's literally 30 years ago, and it was in print and design. And I was very fortunate over those years. I've met the most amazing people, worked with fantastic companies throughout Ireland and the UK and further abroad. And I suppose I spent my primary role in that company was sales. So I was always out and about meeting people. I suppose in the background behind all of that, I was always into fitness. And from the young age of 12, when my mum put me into karate, I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with fitness full stop. But of course, way back then, we weren't as educated as we are now with how to mind our bodies. Didn't mind my body very well at all. So I had a lot of shoulder issues, back issues, knee issues. I had a whole lot. And I ignored them, of course, because even back then, rehabilitation and stuff wasn't really something people got on board with as well as they do today. And I was in and out of gyms, of course, when I got into the teens and I was 18, 19, 20, it was all about image then, of course. And I spent many years back in the day in those kind of Rocky style gyms, lifting weights I probably shouldn't have been lifting. Not even sure if I was lifting them correctly, if I'm being honest. So we're going to jump forward quite a considerable bit of time now. And I suppose I'm in my 30s, getting close to my 40s. And I just decided one day, I need to do something different. I was kind of tired of being in gyms, in and out of gyms, joining gyms, not turning up into gyms. I was running a company at the time as well, of course. So time was really precious and I didn't really have the time to give to my fitness like I used to. So I picked up a resistance band. And I will say, honestly, the change for me was profound. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe what you were capable of doing with this elastic rubber band, as I was calling it at the time. So I kind of just made a decision to really study the bands, train with the bands. I think I spent maybe about 7 years just learning. And of course, along the way, I had clients who, knew me very well, and they used to encourage me. They'd say, you might be good at teaching this. Have you ever considered it? And I said, actually, it's been something I've always wanted to do. I remember when I was much younger in the gym and people would come in, and to me, they were ancient at the time, like we're probably only in their 40s, of course, right? I had this desire to help them because I
Yeah,
watched the training and they were doing everything wrong, and there was never anybody there to show them how to do it correctly. So I was kind of always in me anyway, because I'm very much kind of an attention to detail type of person anyway. So I suppose once I got a grasp on these bands and I realized what I could do with them, and then with the encouragement from my family here, friends and my clients, I said, I'm going to give it a go. And that's exactly what I
perfect.
did. Went away and qualified as a personal trainer and gym instructor.
Yeah, so it's quite a sort of transition, isn't it, from the world of business to doing this as a trainer. So now, I mean, how are things growing for you in terms of what's the uptake been like for you of this new way of training?
It's been amazing. I think COVID really accelerated it for me because
Mm,
pre-COVID, I was in person. And one of my goals with the resistance bands was to educate as many people as possible about these bands and how powerful they could be. But it's not so easy to do that when you're not online, of course. And then we were forced online, and that really stepped everything up for me to a series of online events, networking events. I got to meet all kinds of different people. And I guess because for me, as someone in my late 50s now, I've lived that life. I haven't always been good myself. I understand what it's like to let life get in the way, whether it's family, whether it's work related or whatever. And we find so many excuses not to exercise. I
yeah.
I for me, I felt I was really relatable to people 40 plus, which is kind of where I sit with my clients in general, both male and female, of course. And my thing was always, it's never too late. Doesn't matter
Yeah,
how
no,
old, you can start at any point.
I think that's true. I think too many people give up. They think, oh, I'm too old for working out, I'm too old for fitness. And they're thinking the only way to do it is in the gym. And this is perfect because you really don't have to. But obviously there's a method behind it and there's a way to do it that's important.
Well, the thing is, we all spend probably too much time in the gym anyway. And if you're in, if you're in the gym for a couple of hours, you're not working out, right? So it's about active, efficient workouts. And one of the things I found with people was their main reason for not getting to the gym was time. They didn't have time, traffic, journey to the gym, trying to wait in the gym to get, access to equipment. So you're losing maybe 2 hours, right? And my
Yeah,
thing is, well, guess what? Work out from home, from your office, while you travel with these resistance bands. 30 minutes. 30 minutes
yeah.
with Dave Hurley is more than enough if it's effective and it's very efficient.
I mean, and you're a great advert because you look fantastic, I have to say.
Thank you. I'll take that
so,
compliment.
so you're a good advert for your resistance band, which is perfect.
Good to hear.
So yeah, so when it comes to these resistance, what is it about how you work out that's different from other ways of using resistance? I mean, like I said before, I've used it myself for rehab, for helping that sort of acute overcoming injury and getting back. But what is it that differentiates what you do to other, maybe the mainstream idea about how you use these bands? Because you use a particular special kind of band, don't you? You don't just use any sort of TheraBand or.
Yeah, well, look, there are so many different bands available. So you have the ones that have handles that you can attach to your door. And then you have the free bands, the loose ones. They come off the shelf in various sizes. They're usually like a few feet long. I cut mine from rolls, so they're much bigger. So I like my bands to be like close to 10 feet. And the reason I do that
Wow.
is that some of the exercises I do, you stand on the band and you have to get right up overhead with it. So depending on how tall you are, I just want to make sure that everybody can use that band. So you've got plenty of wiggle room, as I like to call it. You can adjust the level of tension as well. Now, yes, you're right. They are really fantastic for rehabilitation, and physios are always endorsing them, of course. And I always try to remind people about the prehabilitation element of them as well, that you're going to have that preventative injury. But it's how you use the bands. When you buy a band off the shelf and you take it out of its box, it usually comes with a set of instructions. Well, I ignore all of that. I've had 16 years working with these bands, so I create my own unique type of exercises with them. I trial them. I'll never ask a client to do an exercise I'm not able to do myself. And I like to think I have empathy with my client, because when you're in a position on screen with me, I know exactly how it feels to be in that position. And, my training is quite intuitive based off how that client is feeling on the morning or the evening. And I work accordingly then.
Yeah, because that's very unique. Because often, I've started out life as a personal trainer, and you know how you do the exercises, how it feels for you, and sometimes it can be quite easy to get lost in that and not actually take on board the client and necessarily their needs, but it's their how it's meant to feel for them and their capacity to do the exercise you're providing. And I've seen it in gyms. I've been in gyms for over 30 years, and seeing some trainers and they're not really paying attention to the client. So actually, that's what makes you really unique, because, like you say, you've experienced the exercise. You know exactly how it's meant to be, how it feels. You're going to be a similar age, so you know physically what they're going to be going through in their capacity. So I think that's really important, and you provide that really well.
Absolutely. And when I have my conversation with my client ahead of training, then I'll also have a consultation with the client first to get to know them, understand what their challenges are, and so on and so forth. And it's always very reassuring when I speak to them. I'm always very open about my age with them, because I think it really relaxes them a little bit more, because there's always this perception, if you're a trainer, you look fit, oh, it's okay for you. But I'm going to say, well, actually, I'm actually older than you, or I'm close to your age. And then there's a little nice big relax on the screen, and they get it, And I said, look, it's never too late. I'm going to work you to your ability. Forget about everybody else. It's what you feel at the end of 30 minutes is what matters. And that's the most important, Julia.
100%, 100%. So with your clients, what sort of transformation are they getting when they start out using them? Is there any unexpected result that they were so happy with they weren't expecting? What sort of transformation are people seeing? And how is that changing their lives?
It's very interesting. That's a great question, actually, because for many people, it's quite different. Everybody will associate fitness, right, with weight loss, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really like the word weight loss, because for a lot of people, weight loss is muscle loss, right? And a lot of gyms just fixated on a number. You lost 20 pounds, but they don't really tell you or really care what the makeup of that weight was. I'm about body shape change, strength, right? So when people come to me, obviously, if you want to lose body fat, you've got to be good in the kitchen as well, of course. So it's just setting realistic goals for yourself and, just being realistic with how you go about doing it. But for me, working with resistance bands, it's all about making my clients stronger.
Yeah.
When you're more stronger, physically and mentally, that's going to push up their metabolic rate, right? Which, will reduce your metabolic age, and they'll have far more energy. So the kind of things my clients talk about is, I feel so much stronger. I feel so much more energetic. I'm sleeping better. I can move better. I've got more agility, because flexibility is a huge part of these resistance bands. Because if you think about what you're doing with them, you're stretching all the time. You're being put into really deep stretch positions. And it doesn't even matter how far you can get down at the beginning. You never get as far as someone else, but you're definitely going to get down further than what you could when you started. So it's about an overall well-being. The fat loss will come for everybody over time. I talk about small amounts of fat loss, not trying to lose 20 pounds in 3 weeks, right? It's like you lose a half a pound or a pound of body fat. It's enough, right? Because that's a lot of body fat over a period of half a year. So you're going to feel and look a lot better anyway. But it's all the other benefits that come with it. That's what I really, really focus on.
Yeah, and the fact is, as you're getting stronger, as the muscles of the quality of your muscles is improving, the side effect of that is you're going to be burning more fat. So as long as you can, add into that, better eating habits, then it's going to happen. But I think I don't know whether you found this, but I think people now these days, they get things very quickly, but the body's very good at adapting and changing and giving you the results. But you have to give it time, and you have to take those slight increments of building that progress. It's really important for keeping it off and keeping long-term results.
Absolutely. I speak to my clients about, realistic outcomes and expectations. And I've got this saying where I say, seek progress, not perfection, right? Because what is perfection? As long as you're progressing all the time, that's the most important thing. And if you're not too hard on yourself either, right? If you make a mistake or you fall back, so what? Just get back up again and go. And you will progress. I was thinking about myself, actually. How was it for me when I was training? And it's amazing how when you're working with these bands over time, it sneaks up in you. You realize over time these moments of, wow, I feel better. And it mightn't even be anything to do with the gym. It could be like you could be doing some chore around the house. You could be running for a bus or whatever. And suddenly you just feel better. And you're going to go, wow, something positive is happening here for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that you get increased range of motion, more mobility with the strength, I think is really key as well, because that is something you really need, particularly as you get older, because everything stiffens up and tightens up. So it's not just about building the muscle quality. It's about keeping that range of motion, because you really need that through the hips, the knees, ankles, the shoulders, because everything works together. Nothing works in total isolation. So and I think with what you do as well, you have a great sort of whole body workout with it.
Yes, I mean, I use that word all the time. Glad you've said that now, actually, because when I speak to my clients initially and they ask me, what's it going to be like? And I'd say, well, it's a full body workout. And because it's 30 minutes and from head to toe, you will be worked out. And, the beauty about resistance bands is you can't help but use your core. It's the band that's always trying to pull on you. So you're getting core engagement all the time, which is going to really improve your posture, going to make you more stable. And when you have a really strong core, everything else functions better anyway. So your upper body is better, your lower body is better. And people don't realize that. I mean, I've met athletes and I've worked with some, and as good as they are, like, they recognize very quickly that their core is not as strong as it should be. So it's something I really focus in on. And people make the mistake of, they kind of get confused. They think about core, they think about sit-ups and stuff, but they're quite different.
Yeah,
They're
it's
very
very different.
Absolutely. And when people say, well, I want to lose fat in my stomach, and I'll do loads of sit-ups, I say, no, actually, if you do some squats there, you'll have a far better chance, because you're going to burn more energy. So teaching people the realities of fitness and how to achieve great success is far different to what they believe themselves.
Yeah, and with any exercise, you can be engaging your core throughout every single exercise. It's not just about doing sit-ups, those probably aren't used that greatly these days, as much as they certainly were when I was starting out in my journey. But core is now fundamental to pretty much every exercise you do.
Absolutely. So the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. And I guess what it means then, because I'm someone that would have suffered from lower back issues from all the martial arts I did, and I couldn't actually do proper core workouts at all. For me, I remember the moment clearly when I was able to lie on the floor and raise my legs up and push them straight out in front of me and hold them there in that position for quite a period of time with no issue with my back. And I smiled because I realized I finally got there, because I knew now how to engage my core correctly, and the strength was there, so I wasn't putting any pressure on my lower back. And that was a great moment for me. So, it's just building that strength over time, really, Julia.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. So if someone was thinking, right, this is something great for me, I want to give this a go, how would you suggest someone starts getting, how do they go about getting the right bands? What's the best starting point for someone?
Well, okay, so if they're dealing with someone like myself, I guess I'll have that consultation with them. I'll assess very quickly what level of resistance bands they need to start with, right? And if they're coming into, let's say, a group class with me, we use a specific type of band. In that band, if they're doing one-to-one training with me, we use other bands then as well. So I can provide them with those bands, and then I'll give them an induction session where I will teach them how to use those bands. I'll correct their posture, their technique. All that stuff is probably the most important stuff at the start. And sometimes, believe it or not, it's actually easier with someone that has never been in a gym, because they haven't got all the bad habits, right? So if someone is in the gym for years and doing everything wrong, we have to undo all of that damage. Someone that's just fresh, they can get started correctly from the get-go, so they can actually progress nicely that way. But it's all about getting that posture, that technique right, figuring out what's right for them, what's not. If a person is in their 60s or 70s or 50s, it doesn't, it depends on their age and what their own abilities are. And I teach them accordingly. And what I try to do then, of course, is educate them over time that when you're not with me, so if you're training with me twice a week, 3 times a week, I want you to do stuff on your own, even if it's 10 minutes. Start with 10 minutes. Build to 15 and try get yourself to 30 minutes over time. But only do the exercises you're very comfortable with doing, that you know you can do correctly, so that you don't develop any bad habits. And I would say all of my clients are doing that now on their own as well.
Yeah. And if someone comes to you, say they've got sort of lower, like you said, lower back or hip pain, or, maybe they've come back from the doctor, maybe they've got a bit of arthritis or whatever, how would you sort of integrate the bands when someone actually has a physical problem that they're dealing with?
Well, there's the beauty of a chair. I've had clients with real dodgy knees, and with that had very little confidence and a little bit of fear there as well, of course, So I get my chair and I sit in my chair and I demonstrate the exercise and I'd say, okay, give it a go. And it's amazing, like at the end of the session, like the client would say, Jesus, I had a great workout there and I didn't even stand up, right? So you just adapt to to their situation. And then over time, they get a little bit more calm, get them off the chair a little bit. And because I'm trying to explain to them that if you can just build that muscle around the knees, it's something that a lot of my clients, the older clients in their 60s and stuff, have those issues around their knees. So we really focus on building the strength around those knees. And over time, it takes time. They get down a little bit further with the squat, they get down further with the lunge, and their confidence grows as well. So it's a gradual thing, but it's a wonderful thing to see as well at the same time.
Yeah. And is it great, obviously, if someone's playing tennis or golf, is it a great sort of piece of equipment for sort of tying into sort of the sort of specifics of sports specific training as well?
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned it. I mean, my own son Dylan, he's 70 now. He's a great tennis player. He wants to pursue a career in tennis. So I spend quite a bit of time with him since a very young age, working with him in my gym here, working with those bands. And when he's with his coach, they're all about resistance bands. So resistance bands can be used in every sport. I mean, I've worked with people here in Ireland. We have GAA, Gaelic football, we've got rugby, obviously, and tennis and golf. And I've worked with quite a few golfers as well over time. It's amazing, actually, with the golfers whose range of movement isn't great up overhead, they can't really get up here properly. So specific exercises to help with that as well. So look, whether it's someone who has never stepped a foot in the gym, someone that's already quite fit but wants to level up to the next level, or someone that's an athlete and wants to really enhance their physical ability, it's there for all of them. It definitely is.
Because I often think it's also a kind of safer form of strength training. Because obviously, I've worked in gyms a lot. I've done a lot of weight training myself. And, you've really got to be very careful when you're using those free weights in particular, or even the machines, but free weights in particular. But I sense there's also a bit of safety with using the bands. There's a bit more, they challenge your stability, they challenge your strength, they challenge your mobility, the multiplanar direction that everything goes in. But I feel if you're unsure, that it's a really great way of, not having that risk. Would you say that's true?
Yeah. I use the word low impact all the time. People ask me, so who are these bands suitable for? And it doesn't because I've, parents with children, 12, 13, and I encourage them to get their children involved. I've had mothers with their sons or daughters with me on a session because they're so safe. You just use a band that's relative to their physical strength and progress from there. And if you're someone in your 70s, the same, because you've got so little impact on your joints, which is it's very important as we age, as you know yourself, Julia.
Yeah.
But because of how I use them and because the movements are all very slow and controlled, so when you do a squat with me, it's not your regular pace squat. You can be kept down in a position for a number of seconds. You have to come up quite slow, so getting really, really deep into the muscle fibers. So it's a very different experience. You're going to experience what I like to call the burn. It's not pain. It's very different. And I always remind my clients, if you feel pain, you stop. No ego. You just stop straight away. If you feel burn, push through it. Push through, because that's the magic stuff.
Yeah, because you want to feel like your muscles are being affected. And like you say, there's a big difference between feeling it working, having that little bit of, oh, this is tough. And like you say, that burn, that buildup of lactic acid, as opposed to actual joint pain or, it's just, you can't go on kind of pain.
No, you've got to listen to your body at that point, but that burn is the magic word. It really is. And your body, your legs will actually start to shake a little bit even. And people say, I like to shake.
You've got to get a bit. Yeah, because you've got to kind of push back that time when it starts to get a bit challenging and you think you just want to give up. You just got to have that extra rep inside of you, because that's where 100%. The progression is. If you give up before you feel that, you're never going to progress. You're going to maintain the status quo.
Well, I guess that's where people like myself come in, because, I've got clients with me since 2017 and they're with me now for very different reasons, of course. And of course, they understand how to work out themselves. They know everything about those bands, but they still work out with me because they say, we'll never get out of a session where I get out of it with you, because I will push them that extra bit further again.
Yeah. And would you always recommend that someone has someone like yourself to help them all the time? I mean, like you say, you could use them by yourself, but is it always better to have someone supervise them from your point of view?
I mean, look, it depends on a person's personality as well, of course. I mean, some people are very disciplined. I would be a very disciplined person, but I still had my own trainer for many years to learn, because look, whether it's a fitness trainer or a mindset coach or whatever, we all need help. we want to progress and we want to do things properly. So to have someone like me, and there's loads of really good people out there, to have someone like me by your side to get you through it, to encourage you, to motivate you, to make sure you're doing everything correctly, that's worth its weight in gold. It really is.
100%. Yeah, yeah. And what sort of time frame of people, they come to you, say someone who's just starting out, but they have this goal, they want to get fitter, they want to get more, more muscle tone, whatever it is they want. What are they finding in terms of time frame from when they start to when they sort of achieve that first goal, that first initial desire?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And I was actually at a menopause event here actually in Ireland last year, and I was asked that question by one of the ladies in the room. I was very fortunate. I had a client with me who was at that stage of life herself. She was actually saying it to myself. And I was not vague with the answer, but I was trying to explain that it's different for everybody. So it depends what your start point was, how much you exercised when you began your start point, how dedicated you were in the kitchen, and so on and so forth. So I said, you will start to notice differences in a number of months, 6 months to a year. And then my client jumped in and said, actually, no, can I just say I felt a difference from my first session? And I was taken back by it, but she explained, she says, look, what I'm trying to say is that when I had that first session with you, I felt so strong. The end, I felt grounded, I felt confident, I felt it was impacting my body in a positive way. So from the get-go, I felt a change. And I was delighted to hear that, of course. So I guess once you engage, yes, you're going to have that overwhelming feeling of confidence and belief in yourself that it's going to happen for you. And then from there on, it depends on how much you push yourself. Again, you have to be realistic, and a little bit of genetics involved as well. Of course, we're all designed and made differently. So, but I would say to someone, look at how you're going to be in a year from now, right? I don't believe in this, look, you're going to go on a special boot camp with me now for the next month and you're going to change your life. It doesn't really work long term. Yeah, you'll get results, of course, but we're in it for the long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And think about where you want to be in a year's time, 2 years' time, and so on and so forth. And that's how I look at it for myself now, Julia. It's about, I'll be 60 in 2026. It's not too far away. And I'm thinking about that decade, how fit and how energetic I'm going to be and feel then,
Well, that's the thing. It's not just now when you're younger. I mean, I'm in my 50s myself. But, I started training in gyms when I was about 25, I think. I think it was 24 going on 25, something like that. So and the research is showing that obviously the people who stay fit and healthy all the way through have a much better aging process. That doesn't mean that if you start later in life, you can't make those changes and adapt and get great results. But obviously, the earlier you start, the longer and the better you're going to feel for well into your later years and have that energy, have that, strength and flexibility that you need, particularly as you get older, which is going to sort of lower the risk of other diseases and other illnesses and other problems coming in. Not all, obviously, but to some degree.
Absolutely. And I mean, like starting young is great, of course, right? But, some of us haven't done that at this point, right? But not starting at all is not an option. And, it's back to what you said earlier. I'm old now. I'm old. I'm in my 50s. No, you're not old. You're young, right? Just start now, because you will not regret it for certain. And, like time moves quickly. The problem with people that are younger is they think they have all the time in the world. But as we both know, 10 years goes like that. And before you know it, you're in your 40s. And people they just give up, and there's an acceptance. Well, this is how I look and this is how I feel. And you know what? Like if you just made that start, you will never regret it. It's
100%.
I've had some. The conversations I've had with clients. I've had a client with me this morning. She's with me 3 years now, and she's talking just about that to me. I remember sitting with her the very first day, and she talked about she did not want to be that person in her 50s, feeling miserable, having no confidence, not wanting to go out and get dressed up for a night out, And she said, "Look, I want to do something about it. No, I'm not waiting any longer." And we started, and she's with me now a few years, and she's a different person.
Yeah, and that's the great thing. It's very adaptable, no matter your age, no matter your physical capacity, whatever it is. This is a really great way to start. And even if you're a seasoned gym user, you can. These are going to be great for those active rest days, or just having a change of environment. You can take them out to the park. You can do so much with them. So it gives you that I think it's good to sometimes get out of the gym and get a different environment. It's really good for your, not just for your health, but your mental health as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've had clients who have been abroad or been on holidays, or whatever, and they would bring the bands, but they'd actually go into a gym. They'd actually do the opposite because they're always working out of rooms in their homes, right? And they go to a gym with the bands. And the thing is, like, if you think about people who play sport and high impact sports like rugby and so on and so forth, the beauty about resistance bands is they kind of, I suppose, they activate all the smaller muscle groups as well, right?
Mm.
Rugby players will get them ready for the big lifts. If you think about Tom Brady in America, the great American footballer, well, he wrote a book on resistance bands because he always talks about how he made that decision younger in his career to switch from general weightlifting to resistance bands, and he got to play professional football well into his late 40s, which is amazing, you know. So he's a great endorser of resistance bands. But the problem here, well, in Ireland anyway, for sure, maybe not in the UK to the same degree, it's still all a little bit on the unknown when it comes to resistance bands. People are quite unsure. They relate them too much, I guess, to physiotherapy and little stretching exercises, and they don't realize that you can actually get an incredible workout from these bands, and it can make you really, really strong. I mean, I'm stronger now than what I was 30 years ago, and it's hard to believe, but it's the absolute truth. I'm stronger than what I was 30 years ago, and it's down to how to use these resistance bands.
Yeah, it's just adding another dimension to your health and fitness, and making it more fun, which is always a bonus as well. So yeah, I'll probably be getting my bands out tomorrow. I'm sure I've got some hidden away that I haven't used.
Yeah. And
you see them everywhere. You see them in the gyms, hanging in the gyms. No one uses them because no one knows how to. No one knows how to.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, I like to focus on the positive element of fitness, right? Because there's too much scaremongering as well. We all know that if you don't eat, you don't exercise, you're going to have all these health issues, right? We know. But how about embracing fitness, falling in love with it, right? For all the good stuff, better sleep, better energy, more movement, more flexibility, and so on and so forth, right? There are so many positives that be taken from being fit. And that's the message I want to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just about the aesthetics of being really ripped and cut and lean, and that's a nice bonus, but there's more to it than just that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the confidence. I mean, I work with a lot of professional people, and like they're amazing at their jobs, right? And they shine in the boardrooms and that, but they have no confidence when it comes to their own body image. And to be able to go to your work and do a presentation, but feel so physically and mentally strong and able, you're bringing yourself up a whole different level, and you're able to take on all those challenges that you're faced with when you run your own business. In particular, fitness is your best friend for sure, and it's really it's me over the years anyway. It really has.
Yeah, and like you say, just if you're working, you're having a stressful day, take 20 minutes, half an hour out, just go and get your resistance bands out, get out in the park, do a few, exercises, and come back, you'll feel so much better.
Absolutely. And, you have to link this with, mental health. And, there's a lot of talk about, mental health awareness. I was only speaking with someone about it yesterday. And, fitness will really help. It'll take that edge off you all the time. And, if you're having a really bad moment or you're a very stressful day, just give yourself a good workout. You'll feel way better for it. All those endorphins and everything.
100%. So, I mean, obviously, these are really cost-effective way of exercising. Particularly at the moment, I think a lot of people are going to be struggling financially and thinking whether they can actually keep up their gym memberships. Maybe something they have to sideline for a while. So this would be a really great way of adapting your training and doing things from a different way, changing your life potentially in a really positive way. So I think this is something that I think more people should, take a look at, do your research, maybe contact you. And get some help.
It's like when I hold a band and I've done presentations in rooms with this, and I have one of my resistance bands rolled up and I take it out of my pocket and I just open my hand like that and I would say, where am I holding? And there's like silence and I'm saying, well, that's a gym in my hand.
Yeah, because absolutely, 100%.
People spend hundreds and hundreds of euros on equipment that gathers dust in their garages. These bands can come everywhere for very little money, and it has the capacity to change your life. It really has, because it's not just about the workout with someone like me, right? In that 30 minutes, it's all the other positive changes you'll make away from me and it filters into the family as well, of course. So, if mom is doing it, maybe dad ends up getting involved in the kids, and the same with how they eat. So if mom changes how she eats or dad changes how he eats, then that filters to the family. So everybody starts eating better as well. So there's a knock-on effect from it as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I get told a lot. It's like, it's not just that 30 minutes with me, it's all the other stuff you start to do when you're not with me is where the real magic comes from, I think.
Yeah, I agree completely. So, Dave, so if someone wanted to get in touch with you, whether they're an individual, whether they're a business, well, how could they get in touch with you to find out a little bit more about what you do and maybe join in the fun with Dave Hurley?
Sure, yeah, and it'll be lots of fun for sure. So you can find me predominantly in two places. Well, on my website, www.davehurleyfitness.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. I post on LinkedIn quite often, so I'm always doing video posts and giving tips. So
you're always doing really great exercises on there, aren't you?
Yeah. Some say I was showing off with it, but sometimes it goes good. Yeah, I was demonstrating the power of the resistance band from a flexibility perspective. So did a couple of exercises there to show the possibility. If you're to stick with something over a long period of time, you may never get to the point where I got to, but I've been doing this a very long time, but you're definitely going to be better than what you were when you started. So yeah, I enjoy doing those posts, and hopefully people are learning from those posts as well, of course, So yeah, if you just go into LinkedIn and see Dave Hurley Fit, you'll find me straight away. I'm up there every day of the week.
Yeah. So everybody, I really encourage you to do so. I think it won't be a mistake. It'll change your life. You'll be so happy you made that choice, and you're going to get fitter and healthier and have fun while you're doing it as well. But for now, Dave Hurley, this has been really interesting, and I know you've inspired many people to get started with bands and research a bit more. Hopefully get in touch with you as well. But I'd really like to thank you for joining me today and taking time out of your busy schedule. But thank you, Dave. It's been great. It's been really enjoyed the discussion.
And thank you so much, Julie. It's been an absolute pleasure to be interviewed by you today. Thanks.
Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Unleash Your Inner Athlete. Thank you.